one of my live streamers. And before I get started, I just want to take a moment to thank all of my supporters and everyone for supporting my channel. My channel truly will not be where it's at today without all of my supporters. So with that being said, let's get on down to today's lecture, which is see the world. You gotta get out here and see this big old wide world. And I'm gonna talk about some things that really need to occur in relation to traveling abroad. And this lecture is centered towards traveling abroad. And I had the opportunity 2023 to take a guided tour to Cairo, Egypt. 2024 take a guided tour to Rome and Italy, and I'm in the process behind the scene getting ready to take my next guided tour to Paris. And I'm just so excited. But as I on this trajectory path to go see many of the seven wonders of the world debt-free, I just want to share with everyone some of the things that I've been doing behind the scene to make this happen. First of all, I tell anyone, go through a reputable travel agent, number one. That's the key thing, especially when you're going on a guided tour. You're going to meet so many people from all over the world who's going to be in that same group with you from the moment that guided tour kicks off until the moment it ends. I was in Cairo, Egypt for about a couple of weeks. I was in Rome, Italy for a couple of weeks. So, and when I do my guided tours, I always arrange it through my travel agent to always get there a day before, 1 or 2 days before the tour starts, and I stay 1 or 2 days after the tour in that country, so I can really experience that experience. And you're safer in a group because you're going to meet, I think in my guided tour to Cairo, Egypt, I think it was like maybe 10 or 11 people in that group, and we all started together and we ended together. And then that guided tour to Rome and Italy in 2024 that I did, it was about maybe 40 something people in that group. So we all, and from all over the world. So it's just so much value in that. And the beauty of that is when I was in Italy last year, and even when I was in Cairo, Egypt in 2023, one of the things I do from a strategy standpoint, I'm already planning and budgeting. I'm in Cairo, Egypt in 2023, and I'm already writing down the steps that I need to do to plan and budget for my next guided tour. And so when I was in Rome in Italy last year, on that guided tour, I was already writing down on paper on steps that I needed to take to start budgeting for my next guided tour. So I treat, my traveling abroad almost like a business in a sense, in terms of when it comes to that money piece and being wise with my money and strategic with my money and budgeting my money to be able to travel this world debt-free. And that's what I mean by being able to do this debt-free, because I'm planning like 1 year in advance for the next guided tour, and I do 1 year, and then when it's time for me to go on that guided tour, I'm going. Just like I was in Cairo, Egypt for a couple of weeks, just like I was in Rome, Italy for a couple of weeks. So now I'm behind the scene getting ready to go to Paris. But make no mistake, I had already started my budgeting, the financial piece for this next guided tour when I was in Italy last year. And that's what I mean by being laser focused, being strategic with the money. I have an account where I set aside for my travel abroad account, and I put a certain amount of money in that account every single month. So when it comes time for me to contact my travel agent to book my next guided tour, that trip is paid for up front. So without creating new debt, up front in cash, I ain't charging nothing. I'm using my debit card, and that's how I've been able to do this. And when I go to Paris, when I get over there, I will either get a piece of paper and begin to write down the steps and my financial steps in regards to taking my next guided tour. I'm looking at maybe going to Stonehenge. That's one of the seven wonders of the world, and that's how I keep this thing going, and it's life changing. When you really get out here and meet people from all over the world, from all kind of cultures, people, and see these 7 wonders of the world, to be able to walk inside the biblical, those ancient Egyptian tombs, those pyramids, and ride on the biblical Nile River and inside of the Vatican and seeing the 16th chapel painting done by the famous Michelangelo in the Colosseum and the ancient Roman buildings. People, that's life changing. Real talk. That is what life is all about. You know, people spend more money going to Vegas. People spend more money going to Walt Disney World in California or either the one in Florida. You will spend less money taking a guided tour to go see this world, to go travel this world, to go experience life-changing experience. You will spend less money on a guided tour to travel abroad. Trust me, because you're getting everything on a package deal. That's the beauty of a guided tour. It's a package deal. That package deal is paying for everything, the round trip ticket, the accommodations, all of those. When you're on a guided tour, we have an itinerary. So we're doing something every day on that itinerary in that country to go see these historical sites, and that guide is going to keep us busy. And the guide is always from that country. Just like my guide in Cairo, Egypt was full-blooded Egyptian, the guide in Rome, Italy was full-blooded Italian. So they know their culture. They're educating you on their culture as they take you to these various world-renowned locations throughout that guided tour. Or accommodations are paid for, lodging is paid for, food is paid for, ticket is paid for. You know, when I went to Cairo, Egypt, I had it arranged where a transporter, especially going to Africa, any kind, period. You know, that country is in a world of its own. And my travel agent, she recommended for me to arrange to have a transporter to pick me up the minute I landed in Cairo, to pick me up from the Cairo International Airport and to transport me to the Pharaoh Motel. That was the first motel we met at to meet with the other parties in the guided tour. And I'm glad she recommended that, because there was no way in the world I could have figured out how to get from that airport to Pharaoh Motel in Cairo. You know, the language is in their language. I can't read that Egyptian language on those street signs, and they drive crazy. It was probably about a 45-minute distance from the airport to the meeting destination. It was dark by the time I arrived at Cairo. So there's no way in the world I could have navigated that. And that, not being able to read those signs. They don't adhere to any type of traffic guidelines, people. This is real talk. They drive crazy. It's various modes of transportation on the road. You may see a car. You may see the little moped. You may see them animal-driven type thing. All the animals on the roads, the cars on the roads. People are walking by, and people are just head-on collision, but they'll get in the other lane at the last minute to avoid the head-on collision. That's how they drive. And on top of that, they speed like I don't know what. So there's no way I could have navigated that and been able to drive like that, not being able to read the signs, the language. There's no way I could have made it from Cairo International Airport to the Pharaoh Motel to meet with those other individuals in that guided tour. So my travel agent arranged for a transporter to pick me up from the airport and to return me to the airport when the guided tour was over. And those are the little things like that that are the benefit of going through a travel agent, a guided tour. That a travel agent is going to really break everything down in the particulars. You know, it's strong recommendation when you're traveling abroad, whatever country you're going to. The minute you get to the airport in that country, and my travel agent took me onto this, immediately go to the ATM machine at that airport in that country, and it'll spit out their currency. And that was very, very, very helpful, because the money, you got to have their currency depending on where you're at in these various parts of the world. And I always bring back some of that money with me I brought back some of the African money, the Rome money, and that's my little collection thing that I'm starting as I continue on my trajectory path to travel this world. So those are some tips and musts behind the scene. You got to get a reputable travel agent. You got to be wise with your money, strategic with your money, budget your money, set up a travel abroad savings money account for your travel. So when you get ready to take your next travel destination, you contact your travel agent, you pay for everything up front, you ain't creating no new bills, no new debt, and you can really enjoy that experience without going into debt just to go see this world. Real talk. You save and budget for everything else, save and budget to go see this world. Life-changing experience. Go see some of these 7 wonders of the world, and you will not return the same. You won't. You really won't. And make sure your passport is current. I just recently got my renewal passport. Passports are good for 10 years. My old passport, I had another year left on it, but I went ahead and renewed it and got my new passport. It came, actually just recently got my new passport this month. It'll be good for 10 years because I wanted to make sure that I didn't try to renew it too late, because when you start booking to travel abroad, that's the first thing your travel agent is going to ask you for is information on your passport. That has to match everything. You can't do nothing without that passport. You can't do nothing without that passport. When you begin to start going through these travel agencies and booking trips abroad, they're going to ask for that passport information. You're going to get a lot of discounts when you go through a travel agent with a package deal when you're traveling abroad. Also, depending on where you go in the world, you got to communicate with your primary doctor, because they're going to let you know what immunizations you need depending on where in this world that you're going. When I went to Cairo, Egypt, there are certain immunizations I had to get prior to going to Cairo. And some of those shots I had to get 3 months apart, spread it out 3 months apart. So that means I had to really start my immunization early prior to booking my travel abroad experience to Cairo, Egypt. I had to first get cleared through my doctor, and those shots, some of those shots were spread it out 3 months apart. So I didn't even attempt to book that Cairo trip until after my shots were done. When I went to Rome in Italy, talked to my primary doctor, I needed no immunizations for that part of the world. So you gotta communicate. When I get ready to go to Paris, I've already started doing the particulars behind the scene in terms of speaking to my primary doctor, speaking to my travel agent, looking at the best price deal. And once I get cleared through my doctor, then I'll go ahead and book my trip to Paris later on this year. I'm not going to book that trip before. I'm going to book that trip after I get cleared through the doctor, because I'm telling you, these doctors know what they're talking about in terms of, depending on where you're going in this world, what immunizations you're going to need prior to leaving this country. Real talk, people. I always tell people, well, for me, I travel extremely light. When I travel abroad, I travel extremely light. I mean, super light. I travel because I don't want to be bogged down with luggage, number one. And when I say it's when I was in Cairo for almost 2 weeks, Rome in Italy for almost 2 weeks, all I had with me was a backpack, literally. So when my transporter came to pick me up from the airport, and he looked at me, he said, "Where's your luggage?" I said, "This is it." And that's how military taught me that. It's travel extremely light. Travel extremely light. That helps you blend in so you won't look like a tourist lugging all this luggage around. Because you got to be very careful. It don't matter if you got a guide with you. You really, really have to pay attention to what's going on to the left of you, to the right of you, to the front of you, to behind you. Especially, I didn't experience a whole lot of this in Rome and Italy, but in Africa, throughout Africa, South Africa, North Africa, Upper Egypt, Lower Egypt, the scammers they'll just come out at you in all different forms. Children, men, women, young, old. You just got to be wise. And the goal is to part you from your money. So you don't want to have your hands lugging a whole lot of stuff. You want your hands free. You want to be aware of what's going on. Or anywhere, really. The military taught me that. When you are traveling abroad, you really need to, it don't matter if when we were in Africa, throughout Africa, they got it set up with that particular guided tour. We were also escorted by their police in Africa because they really want tourists to be safe in that country. So that was pretty cool. So but still, you want to be aware of your surroundings. You want to always, I don't care where you're going, especially if you're in a guided tour, stay with the group. Don't veer off from the group. When I was in Rome and Italy, it was a couple of people who veered off from the group, literally. And that guide, everybody has to stop until they can find that person who veered off. And they tell us throughout, don't veer off from the group. Don't veer off from the group and go in a whole nother direction. Don't nobody know where you at. You in a whole nother country. You don't speak their language. You can disappear and never be seen again. So I'm just looking at some of these full-grown people. Why would you pull away from the group, pull away from the guy and veer off and go in a whole nother direction and don't nobody know where your behind is? That's crazy. So I tell folks, when you're traveling abroad, whether you're in a group or not, stay with the group, stay with whoever you will. And it's the beauty of when you do this package deal, we have an itinerary, so we all know where we're going. And then they have these plugins. They have these plugins that they'll put in our ear where everybody can communicate and hear each other. And main thing, so we can hear that guide. The guide is, giving us, educating us on everywhere where we go, all of these sites, checking in with everybody so we can all hear each other with those plugins. So again, these are just some really tips behind the scene and how to go about traveling abroad. Make sure you got that passport, make sure you got your immunization, make sure you got a real good travel agent, and main thing, make sure you know how to budget your money. Budget your money. Set up a little account or your travel abroad account where you put a certain amount of money in there every single month. So when it comes time for you to pay for that trip to go abroad to your next destination, all you're doing is pulling it from out of your travel abroad account. You ain't creating no new debt. You don't owe nobody nothing. And you can go really enjoy that experience, real talk. So that's all I have. Again, I want to thank all of my supporters and everyone for supporting my channel. So that's all I have. Simplify, Simple Fidelis, and I'll leave you in the care of your own conscience. Have a great day.